Hello everyone, we are live. So today's session we are going to talk about the updates in Angular 10, and then we are going to see how to get started with Angular. The reason being, this is a getting started webinar, so I'm sure there will be some people who are already experienced into Angular, and they might not want to wait till the entire session is over and see what's new in Angular 10. So this is how we'll do it. So in case you are new to Angular, just hold on for a few minutes. Where once I'll be able to complete the updates in Angular 10, then we can go ahead and see how to get started. I mean, how to do your setups and how what is the difference between Angular JS and Angular. I'm sure if you are starting new, you might have landed on Angular JS docs as well, or your friend might have suggested you that Angular JS is going to be discontinued and what's the future of Angular. So we will cover all those questions soon. But as discussed, right? So let's go ahead and see first what's new in Angular 10. And before we can go ahead and do that, you can also subscribe to uh, the official channel of .NET. So you can just go to YouTube and search for .NET. I think you will get this page, and then you can subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. Hi Kishore. Hi. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the updates in Angular 10. And to give idea about what I do, so my name is Santosh Yadav, and I'm one of the Google developer expert for Angular from India. I also write for indep.dev, where we have lot of writers. In case you are interested into writing for indep.dev, which is the where we actually write a lot of in-depth information about any front-end technology. So it's open for everyone. You can just send me a draft on my Twitter handle, which is available here, and then we can take it ahead. I'm also a mentor for .NET Tricks, and we are doing this webinar. To reach out to me, you have multiple platforms available. You can just connect with me on Twitter. My social media handle is Santosh Yadav.dev, and I'm available at most of the places with the same handle. So if you go to Google and search for Santosh Yadav Dev, you will get all the social media handles of mine, apart from Facebook, for sure. Just kidding. And you can also follow me on GitHub. I have a lot of repositories where we have a lot of codes, sample codes available. You can refer that. I keep contributing to Angular and some other frameworks as well. So I'm an open source contributor, and I have few open source projects of mine as well to take care of. You can also send me a connection request on LinkedIn. I'm available on LinkedIn as well. And Santosh Yadav Dev is my portfolio. So you can go to Santosh Yadav Dev, and you will be able to find link to for a few more things. Like I have I run a talk show, monthly talk show, where we have guests coming from different technologies. So it's named as Tech Talks with Santosh. So we already had four episodes in the past, and now we are going to have monthly 3 episodes. And starting next month, the first guest is actually, in case you are aware of NGRX as a framework, so the core team member and maintainer of NGRX, Brandon Roberts, will be joining us next month. So he's the first guest next month. And you can of course follow my channel in case you want to. So let's move and see what's new in Angular 10. And just to give you a heads up, no new feature, right? Hey, hello everyone. Sorry, for those all new guys who joined in. Hi. So regarding the update in Angular 10, I was just updating that this webinar is mostly for the new people who are going to start with Angular. So it will be like really basics. I'm just going to give you updates on Angular 10 beforehand. So in case you already know Angular, you can leave. That's absolutely fine, right? I mean, you don't want to actually stay till the end to see what's new in Angular 10. So it's up to you. In case you want to stay till the end, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to take a lot of time, maybe an hour. So let's see what's new in Angular 10. So don't I mean, there are no features. So 0 new features in Angular 10. We don't have any big feature coming up with Angular 10. Maybe there might be some feature in Angular 11 or 12, but everyone knows about the roadmap, right? So you in case you are not aware of the roadmap, I will share the link as well. You can see what's the plan for the future, which Angular has given to the community. So we'll go through that. So here we are going to cover three things. We are going to see what's new in Angular framework, what's new in Angular CLI, and what's new in Angular component, because of course it makes the entire Angular ecosystem. So let's see about Angular framework. So first thing is, of course, TypeScript 3.9 is available with Angular 9, Angular 10 release. So now you can use all the features provided by TypeScript 3.9 into your code. Then you have a new strict configuration, which we are going to see at the end. So this is really a cool feature in case you have an enterprise application and you are struggling with your bundle size. I think this can help you to reduce your bundle size to some extent, and why. That's also we are going to cover. So even though you are you have experience with Angular 9, I would say just try out for this particular feature, strict configuration with strict flag, because this is really interesting. Then we have narrower browser config. What it means is now Angular 10, the Angular team has dropped the support for few older browser, for example, i9, i10, and 11. So they are not supported anymore. In case you are creating a new application using Angular CLI, if you have an existing application where you already support i10 and i11, there won't be any changes. This is just for a new application which is created. And in case you are actually not supporting i10, i11, I would say just drop the support. I mean, you are just creating extra bundles for nothing, right? I mean, no one is using it. And the last thing, not the last, but I think one of more changes is in case you have used Angular guards, most of the guards return the URL tree as a response. I mean, I can just say return router.navigate and it will work. But it was not the case with canload. Now canload also can return URL tree. Earlier it used to just return true and false. So that was the existing thing. Yeah. So these are, I'm not sure it is visible. Let me just zoom. Okay. Okay. So this is one of the changes which is done for server-side rendering. So Angular Universal, in case you have used it. So earlier in SSR also, in case you want to create or let's say make an API call, you had to actually create the absolute URL. So now you can actually get it from the config itself. So you can just provide this initial config and then use value. And there is a property at the end. I'm not sure if that's visible. That's called use absolute URL. So in your all the HTTP calls, the absolute URL, for example, http:/abc.com will be automatically appended, and you will get the entire path for your HTTP calls as well. So it will just remove some of the code from your existing code. That's it, but it is available. Another small thing, which is really small but very important. So you might be aware of all this SMS integration, right? So you can actually use the SMS URLs inside your app as well. But it was not treated as safe, though it is treated as safe in other platforms. Even Google allows it. So it was not still marked as safe inside Angular framework. So that's a small feature which was done. Actually, I did that. So that's available now. This is very useful in case of PWAs, where you actually want to send some messages. So you can actually use SMS URL. And this is it. Not much from Angular itself. And there are few things which is related to the Angular localization. So the team is working on a new tool. Just to give you an update, I mean, I'm not sure what's the current state. I have to still go ahead and look into that. But in case you are already using Angular localization, there are some pretty good things which are happening inside Angular framework, and they are working on a new tool itself for localization related to i10. And the next changes are related to Angular CLI. So let's see what's there. So the first feature which we have is now Angular CLI will give you a warning in case you are going to use common JS modules. So now what you mean by common JS modules, right? So common JS modules cannot be tree shaked. It is widely used on your desktop application, for example, Node. But a lot of people actually use it on web. For example, Lodash, right? Lodash is a common JS module, but they do provide something known as Lodash-ES, which is for web. And the advantage of ES modules is they are tree checkable and they can be used on web. So always prefer using ES modules until unless you don't have any option actually, and you have to use CommonJS module, so you can go ahead and do that. Right now, if you have already have some dependency of CommonJS modules, Angular 10 will start giving you a warning. It will not fail your build, don't worry about it, but it will just give you a warning that you are using CommonJS modules. And to avoid that, what you can do is in your build configuration, you can just go to options and you can mention allowed CommonJS dependencies. So you can mention Lodash, you can mention maybe if you're using Deep Dash, whatever modules you are using. That's it from Angular CLI and a few updates from Angular components. So let's see. First, and I think this is something which was pending from a long time and people needed it. So we have now date range picker as a component which is available inside Angular material, or you can just simply call it as Angular components. So you can go ahead and use data range picker now with starting Angular component 10. For date pickers, this is one of the pain. I think I have also seen this issue because if I'm putting the date picker at the end of the screen, so where your pop-up goes, right? So sometimes it goes outside the browser, right? So it's like you can partially see your controls. So now you can actually allow positions for your date picker. You can just set where you want to open it. The earlier issue which I spoke about was already taken care, I think, in previous releases, where it actually, in case it is going out of viewport, it actually used to adjust the position. Now you can actually pass the position yourself. So that's a good thing to do. And this is related to SVG. I'm not sure how many people are using SVG icons from external vendors. So in case you are using SVG icons from external vendors, though earlier there was a problem that in case it requires an authentication, you cannot actually get those icons. Sorry for the noise. Just a second. Yeah. So now you can actually pass extra property. I'll be sharing this slide so you can actually refer it. So there is an extra property which is known as with credentials true, which will actually let us download the SVG icons if they require any credentials. So that's another good improvement. And this is related to mat table. So I'm sure this is something in case you are using mat table, and this is something you might have faced. So let's say you have filters available on your mat icon and you search for something and there are no rows available. So what you do? So in that case, actually you write your own code to display that there are no rows available. But now with this new directive which is available, which is called mat no data row. I'm sure it's really tiny for me, but I'm not sure if it is visible to you. In case not, I'll be sharing the link slides anyways. So now you can just use this no mat data row property or attribute on your inside any one of the TRs, and it will just display. You can just mention the messages. For example, here I'm saying no data matching the filter. So it is available with Angular Material 10. You can just update and then add this row, and you are taken care of. Earlier, it was not available. And this is also I liked. So selection list with option to select multiple rows. So now you can have actually selection list. This is really cool feature to have. For example, in case I have a grocery list, right? So I want to check what are the things I have already purchased. So I can just create a selection list with all the items, and then I can just click on saying, okay, this is something which I have already purchased, and then you can just mark it as a selected. This is really a cool thing, especially for your mobiles. So it is available now, mat selection list, and you can play around it. Just go to material docs and you will be able to see an example as well and try to implement. This is related to the schematics. I'm sure if you have used Angular Material, you might have created a navigation bar using schematics. So there is a schematic which is available, which is ng generate, and then you can say Angular Material : navigation and your name of the component which you want to set. So now there is a new flag which is available, ---- routing. So what? Yeah, Suresh. So that's what I was talking about. This is slides.com, so I cannot actually, even if I increase the size, it will not make any impact. So I'll share the slides with you. You can go through it. So just bear with me for some time. I think otherwise I could have changed the font, but I'm sure it is pretty late now. And sorry for that. So okay, so now you can actually pass a hyphen hyphen routing flag, and what this hyphen hyphen routing flag does is it will actually create your navigation component with router links. So earlier it used to create href. I'm sure if you're an Angular developer, you will replace your href with router links. So that's what it does, and this is it. So not a lot of features, right? But there are a few updates. For example, we the packages, right? So internal packages are updated to the latest version. For example, protector now uses the Selenium version 7, which the update was pending from a long time, and now they are trying to update the protector as well. If you are not aware, protector still uses some APIs which are deprecated and should not be used, but they are trying to update it and make it available as per the latest version. So and all the different packages, for example, they use a lot of internal libraries, right? So they have updated everything to the latest version, and that's why we don't see a lot of features in Angular 10. Yes, Venkatesh, it is, but I'm just giving an update on Angular 10 first. So the people who already have idea about Angular, they can decide if they want to stay or not. So just bear with me for a few seconds and then we'll start. And what's next? As I said, what's next for Angular? So this is the Angular roadmap. So you have Angular actually launched a roadmap for what they are going to do next. So you can actually go to angular.io and refer to the Angular roadmap. They have given what are the next thing or the priority thing which they are going to do. Angular library uses Ivy. This was the RFC which was closed, I think, 2 days ago. Now you can actually they have already given you the path how they are going to publish the libraries, Angular libraries, because it is pending from a long time. And this is something which you can go through. This is not the only thing, but these are the priority thing for Angular team. They'll be trying to move this into next releases. So this is next. Okay, so we have of course. Okay, and you can also go to if there is any open RFC, you can also go ahead and give your comments. That's absolutely this is what Angular team needs. So they need more feedback from the community, and this is it. This is it from the Angular 10 updates. What is there in the Angular 10, and now we will go ahead and get started with Angular. Getting started, right? So that's why a lot of people are here. So let me share the link for the slides. I'm sure most of the things were not visible to you. So second. So let me. I'll just share this in chat. Okay, I'm sure now it's. Yep. So yeah, slide link is shared with you, and you can refer to that. Cool. So time to get started with Angular, right? So I'll go to the few things before I start. Okay. Angular.io is the official website of Angular. You can actually go to docs, and they have really nice getting started tutorial here. You can actually go ahead and see setups, Angular concepts, Angular glossary, and they also have a tutorial as well in case you want to go through it. This is the best place to get started, but I'll start with the basics, the installation, and then we can go through, go and create a new Angular app and see how to do some basic steps, right? So the first thing which we need is you need to set up your local environment, and for that you have to install. The first thing is required is Node. So you can go to nodejs.org. You can go to downloads, and always go ahead and download the latest stable version which is available. Right now I might have something called 12.14 point something, but latest stable is 12.18.3. Anything above 12 is okay for Angular 10. So You can verify this by referring to the command prompt. In case you already have Node.js installed, right? So you can just go to node-v, and it will give you the version which you have installed. So in case you are below 10 or below, below 12, so you can actually go ahead and install the latest version. You just have to go ahead and download the same thing. Okay, so once Node.js is installed, and of course the installation step is next, right? So as happens in all the software, so you have to just click next, and then you are done. And then you can once it is installed, it says it is installed, so you can just run this command to verify if your node is installed or not. Then next thing which is required is npm gets installed by default with node, so you don't have to do any extra installation for this. So right now I have 6.13.4, so anything above 6 is okay. And what npm does? So I'm sure there will be a lot of developers coming from .NET background or coming from Java background. So just to give them an idea, .NET has something called as NuGet. I'm sure all the .NET developers knows what NuGet is. So NuGet is something from where you download all the packages, right? So similarly, NVM is actually sorry, not NVM. NPM is something from where you can download the packages which are available for Node.js. So if I go to npmjs.com, you will see a website, and then you can search for a package. For example, if I search for Angular, so I'll get all the packages which is related to Angular. So I can just click on any package and then see how many downloads it has, what is the command to install Angular. So everything is available here. I'm sure this is Angular.js. So you can see refer it from here, angularjs.org, and this is what npm offers. And similarly, Java developers might be aware of Maven, where you actually go ahead and download some packages, right? So you update your pom.xml and then refresh the dependencies, and it gets downloaded, or there might be another way. So this is it for the installation. You just need to install Node.js, and you have to make sure that npm is installed. You will be writing your code using TypeScript. So TypeScript is something which I'm not going to cover here, of course. So I'll start with the Angular part. So Angular TypeScript is prerequisite. You have to actually learn TypeScript before you go ahead and get started with Angular. And it's up to you, right? So how much TypeScript you want to learn. So in case you have a basic understanding, it's absolutely fine. I mean, you can also learn while doing Angular. So this is how I have done most of the things. So, for example, when I started learning Angular, I came to know that okay, there is a language called TypeScript which I will be using. So I started with Angular, and then simultaneously, what I used to do is whenever there is a new concept which I couldn't understand, so I used to refer the official docs of TypeScript, and then see how it works, right? So it's okay. You can always start with something and then learn. Thank you, Suresh. Okay, so now next thing which you need to do is you have to install Angular CLI. So of course you can install the Angular CLI globally, or there is another option. So in case you don't want to install Angular CLI globally, you can just use npx. npx will not install Angular CLI globally, but I can just go ahead and use Angular CLI to create a new application. So I'll say Angular/CLI new. So this is similar to a command called ng-new. I'm not installing it globally because, of course, I have few projects which are on Angular 9, and it gives every time a warning. That's what I just want to avoid, that warning when working with Angular. Vikram says, which one is good, Angular React from Java or feature aspects as Angular can change this compatible. I'll come to that point, Vikram. So let's see how to create a new app, and then okay, so so this is how I can do that without installing Angular CLI globally. Lot of videos or lot of articles which you prefer, which you read, they install globally, but I'm not installing it globally just because I already have multiple versions. So I can say ng-new, and I'll say this is Angular getting started. Let's see. So this will create a new application for me, new Angular application for me with the name Angular getting started. Okay, so I think it is npx is installed. Now it will start creating the app. So let's see. Okay, meanwhile I can meanwhile it is getting installed. Would you okay, so once you run this command, right, so it's called ng new. So once you run this command, you will get these questions. Would you like to add angular routing? I can say yes, I want to. What type of styling you want to use, whatever you are comfortable with, or whatever your uh, organization decides to use. A lot of people do use SAS or SCSS. So I'll use CSS here because most of the developers, the front end developers, are aware of CSS, not SCSS, but yeah. Okay, let's take few questions from the chat. Vikram says, which one is good, Angular or React from job and future perspective, as Angular frequent changes compared to React? Okay, so Vikram, see this. I mean, both the frameworks also has frequent changes. It's not like only Angular has frequent changes. The one good thing about Angular is you don't have to do any manual changes when upgrading to a new version. So you can Angular offers you a new command called ng update. So let me just share the web page with you where the commands are mentioned. So here, it gives you commands. It gives previous version to the next version. I mean, whatever. For example, right now, if I want to update from 9 to 10, right? So I can just go ahead and say, okay, I want to update from 9 to 10. My app is medium size. I use Angular. It will give you the guide, right? So what are the changes which you have to do? So this is before updating. I mean, these are the prerequisites which you have to do. So this is during the update. So during the update. So what you have to do during the update. So if you see, you just need to run a command and then just let the magic happen, and your version. So there are no manual changes you have to do. Just to give you an update about my own app. So we had an Angular 8 app, and when Angular 9 was launched, we actually updated our entire app, which has more than 10,000 lines of code, and more than 150 components, 150 plus actually, and still increasing. We did that entire update in 2 days. So I mean, I'm sure you cannot do updating to the next version in 2 days, right? So it is installing the packages. Meanwhile, let's take few more questions. I'm sure okay, I'm sure Vikram, I answered your question. And okay, regarding the job prospect, right? So this is what I always suggest the developers, that before you choose which one to use, right, Angular or React, so first give them a chance, right? So first try to learn Angular and React and see which one is better for you. I started learning Angular first, and then of course, I gave a try to the React as well. But as an Angular developer, I found it a little bit difficult because, for example, in Angular, I get everything with the framework itself. For example, if I want to use routing, I don't have to go outside. If I want to use forms, I don't have to go ahead and use another libraries or choose from the 10 libraries which one to use. If I want to use, let's say, state management, I have clear options, right? So I can use NGRX, NGXS, or Akita. But in React, you have Redux, and then there are a lot of new libraries which are coming, right? So you always have to see which one is good. So this is where I found it really difficult, and then I just gave up. I gave up React. So I am, of course, if I have to write a code, I can do that, but it's for me, right? And for apart from point of job, it's up to, I think you should go ahead and check which framework has more options or more job opportunities near your location, and then decide. Anshu Bhatt says, I am fresher, where to start Angular? Anshu, Angular.io is a good place. What is npx here compared with npm? Suresh, npx actually will not install your packages globally, which generally npm does. Npx is like kind of, it downloads the temporary copy and then removes it. So I always try to use npx. I don't want to actually install everything globally, because you know how many npm packages are there, right? So if I install everything globally, it will be like my C drive will be full. Can we create Android app? Okay. Oh, There was some question related to Sakin. I'm not sure. Sai. So can we create Android app using Angular? Yes, Sai, you can. You can go ahead and do use something called as native script, or you can always use Ionic. These are two options which you have. Compare to React JS, which one is good? Next, triple one, it's up to you. I think you should go ahead and see which one is good for you rather than deciding which one is better. Remember, all the frameworks out there offers a lot of similar features, right? So if I have to create an web app using React, I can go ahead and do that. The same thing which I can go ahead and do with Angular. But which uh, which framework you are more comfortable with, it's up to you to decide rather than actually listening to others. This is what I believe in. If I don't if someone tells me, okay, just go ahead and use this particular framework, of course I will go ahead and try other framework as well to see how good or how bad it is. Sanshu, I think I answered your question. You can start with angular.io. React is used to design web pages, is correct, sir. Ashok, even Angular, so you can actually go ahead and do that using Angular. Lokesh Kumar, your voice is breaking. I think that was during the installation. It was using bandwidth. So Shubhangi says how to deploy your Angular applications. So you have multiple options, Shubhangi. So Angular application is nothing but a static sites. So you can actually go ahead and deploy it on any server. You just need a server. It's a static. At the end, you get all the index.html and JS files, right? So you can actually go ahead and use any server which you might have used in past. You can use IIS, you can use maybe Netlify, you can always go ahead and use maybe for Java, whatever server you use. So it just need a server, that's it. I mean, this is what I wanted to say. So Angular getting started, and then I will just use VS Code. I'm using VS Code, but it's up to you which version you want to use. And then use a few more Ionic and Cordova. Yeah, so Sunil Kumar, in case you have used Cordova, you should, I think you must give a chance to Capacitor. I really like Capacitor JS. It's really lightweight library, works with your actually web and mobile as well. I mean, is my voice still breaking? Because I could see that during the package installation it was. Does Angular supports micro front end? Yes, it will support. Snehal says, can we convert application from AngularJS to Angular? Yes, you can, but I think the path is really hectic. You have to do a lot of things. So in case we actually had some requirement in past, we ended up writing new one in Angular. Lokesh Kumar, in companies, which version is mostly used? It's always, remember, updating Angular is not a pain. So a lot of lot of applications which are on Angular are on latest version, because of course you can update in, as I said, right, in 2 days. So that's not a big effort. Okay, so this is the new application which we have created. I will take more questions after this. So this is a new application which you create, and I can just go to not angular.json, go to package.json, and you will be able to see, okay, these are, I'm using the version 10.0.11. So I'm on latest version right now. And you can see here, I am Angular Angular gives me all the packages which is needed. So I have animation, I have forms, I have routers, so related to routing. So everything is available with the Angular. So I don't have to do and install the extra library just to create my website. I can just minimum, I can just create a new command. That's it. So, and there are few scripts as well, which I want to show you. Okay, so these are few scripts which are available with Angular. So you can see there is a script called start, you have build, you have test, you have lint, you have E2E. So all this is actually pre-configured for you. So you don't have to do anything extra from your side. So in case you want to run a development server, you can just say npm start, and it will run run your application locally. Similarly, in case you want to create a production build, you can just say ng build, In case you want to run all the test cases, you can just say ng test. Lint is something which is related to the linting rules. I'm sure you don't have to worry about it right now. And E2 is for your end-to-end testing. So everything is pre-configured for you, and you can go ahead and use it to start your new application. So what I've done is I've done ng-new, a new application, and now I can just do npm start. So it will take few seconds maybe, and it will run my application locally. So okay, I don't want to share. Okay, so it will take few seconds. Meanwhile, I can take few more questions. AM Praveen has a question: does Angular support micro frontend? Yes, it will start supporting it. You can use Webpack 5, which is still in beta, but yes, you can go ahead and do that. There are a few blogs from Manfred Steyer, so you can refer to them. Manfred Steyer is he mostly talks about micro frontends, and you can let me just share his Twitter handle with you. Yeah. Yandralal Thakre, how much time? 17, and I'm still learning Angular, so detail. So if you are saying you want to learn everything in detail, of course it will take time, and you learn things over the time, right, over the period of time. So it's not like it will take a month or a year. Friends, I'm not. Umesh, really sorry. I mean, I'm not sure why my voice is breaking. What are the security concerns for Angular application? So remember, Abhishek, so when we are talking about Angular framework, a lot of security issues are already taken care by the framework. J Manohar says, sir, explain Git. Manohar, sorry, but that's out of scope of this There's some videos from Scott Hanselman. So just go ahead and search for search on YouTube. There is a channel called by Scott Hanselman, and he has many videos on Git. Can we convert applications? Nehal Patel, AngularJS to Angular? Yes, you can go ahead and do that. There is a guide available on angular.io. I'll show you. So go to angular.io, docs, and running Angular configuration. There should be dev workflow, techniques, animation. What is that? Yeah, so you can see Angular upgrading from AngularJS. So you can actually refer this upgrade guide, but that's a really painful process. I mean, if you have decided to upgrade, you can go ahead and do that, but I would suggest create a new application rather. Okay, so meanwhile our application is compiled, and let me just open the web page. So once it is compiled, it is available on available on localhost 4200. This is a default port which is actually configured by Webpack, and you don't have to actually worry about all those Webpack configuration. It is available internally with the Angular CLI itself, and you don't have to do anything there. So here I have 4200, and this is the default page which is created by Angular, right? So let me just show you that page. You can go to your application. You'll see src app folder. This is where you will be writing most of your code, right? So it gives you an app component.html file, and this is where you can write your HTML. So I'll say, okay, this is hello from so I can just say hello from .NET Tricks, and as soon as I save this, so this is another thing which comes with Angular CLI itself. So this is called live reloading. So, or you can call it as live reload. So once you save something, you don't have to restart your server. I mean, npm start, actually what it does is it gives you a development server. In case you are coming from a .NET background, you might be aware of IIS, right? So it gives you IIS Express, if I'm not wrong. So you actually do F5 and it runs on IIS Express. Similarly, in Java, you also get a local server, which is, I think, by default port 8000, if I'm not wrong. So similarly, here you have 4200 port, but it is enabled with live reload. So whenever you save something, it will compile your application again, and all the changes will be available on your web page. So you can see right now, the entire earlier content is actually replaced with hello from .NET Tricks. So this is how you can actually create a new application, write something in or design something in your app component.html, and it will be rendered to you. Okay, so let me take few more questions. Can we convert application from, okay, this is already done. In companies, which version of is mostly using? I think I have already said, as a lot of companies are using the latest version. How to migrate particular module from one Angular version to another? Particular module? I mean, Hariprasad, I'm not sure what your question is, but if you're saying from AngularJS to Angular, the link is already shared. Or if you're saying Angular 9 to 10, that's also a link which I've shared, update.angular.io. If I develop application in Angular 10, same can work as mobile app, or I need separate development. Nix 11, triple 11. In case you want to make it work as a mobile app, you can actually go ahead and use Ionic or NativeScript. As the version of Angular changes fast, which one should we learn? Okay, so Chandrakala, this is a really good question. When you get started with Angular, you always have a question. Always go with the latest version, because there is nothing which is a major change in Angular. So it's like with every new version, they will be changing or adding new features. So there might be some improvements, or there might be some new features, but the existing things will work as it is. So until unless there is a breaking changes in Angular, they don't introduce a lot of breaking changes. So that's a good thing to do. So in case you are starting to learn Angular right now, you can start with Angular 10. If I take comments from .NET Tricks, recording videos will be in situation. Vikram, I'm not sure. You have to speak to .NET Tricks. Sunil Kumar says, can you explain IV engine and tree shaking? Sunil, we already had, you can just go to my channel, which is Tech Talks with Santosh. We already had one talk last week with one of the expert from Angular community, and we spoke about Angular IV. I mean, I'm sure that will answer your question. How to build application at production without ngserve command? I'll come back to that question. Angular 10 supports lazy loading service. Yes, it does. Okay, so this is how we can start a new application. So right now I'm saying, okay, hello from .NET Tricks, and now few more things, right? So I'll come back to more questions later on. So a few basic things. For example, now why we create Angular why we create a front-end application, right? So we want to display some information from your backend. That's why we create a front-end application. We want to display some information, or make our user interact with your application. That's why we create it. So let's see how to bind the data. So for example, I have this title, right? Or let me create a new property. So I'll create a new property called name, which is type of string, equals to, I'll say this is name is, let's say, Rohan, right? And I want to display this Rohan on my UI. So I'll say this is welcome. So I can use this double curly brackets. So this is known as interpolation syntax. And then here I can just give the name of variable. So I can say welcome, curly brackets, and name. And it will go ahead and check if I have this name variable available in my TS file. That's something which compiler will do for you. You don't have to do that, of course. So it will check if you have name variable available here. And once it is available, it will just compile and render everything on the page. So you can see right now it says hello from .NET Tricks and welcome Rohan. So this is what it does. So this is interpolation syntax, and there are a few more ways to actually bind your data. You can also use div, for example. Right? So you can go to this div, and you can also use the properties of HTML tags. In case you are not aware of all the HTML properties, that's absolutely fine. Most of the time, you can actually live with interpolation syntax, and I do that. So but it's good to know that what are the different properties which we have available in HTML. And the best place to do that is MDN docs. You can just go to MDN and look for tags and its properties which are there. So here I can just go ahead and use the properties which are available on the HTML tag. So I'm using the property called inner text, right? So here I'll just create a new property. So I'll create a new property. Let's say this is okay. Let's use the title one. So this is title, right? So I'll just render this here using inner text is equals to title, and I'll save this both. It uses the div tag and the property called. Okay, so it uses the inner text property which is available on div. The only difference here is this box. So you can see this brackets. So this is what makes Angular. So this is something which Angular compiler will find and will say, okay, if I have this box available here, it means this property should be a variable which is available inside my TS file. So it will go ahead and check, okay, this is title which is available, right? So it will replace that when you build your application or when you run your application locally. So this is known as property binding. So this is property binding syntax which uses box. Similarly, there will be scenarios where you may want to send some data, maybe a button click, right? So you need to click on a button, and whenever you click on a button, you send some data back to your TS file. Generally, this is what we do in MVC. I'm sure if you are coming from a .NET background or even a Java background, where you have used MVC concept in past, you may relate this. So this inner this title property, which is coming from a controller, which is binded on my view, and which is a model, right? So if I call what I can talk about like title is it's a model which I'm binding on my view. Similarly, to send some data, I can use button, and then to actually dispatch an action, we use a click action, right? So generally on HTML, we use on click. So this is how you can actually do this in Angular. So you can just remove on, use this brackets. So this is banana, which we call it as a banana syntax, and a function. So I'll say this is alert, or let's say send alert, okay. And I'll say this is send alert. And this function, I have not written this function right now. This function needs to be available in your TS code. So I'll just say, okay, this is send alert, and I can use the alert function, which is window.alert. Hello from Angular. Right, so I have created a function now which dispatches a click action, and it will go ahead and initiate this particular function, send alert, on click, and then it should actually open an alert window. That's it. This is what we are doing here. Simple thing. So click on send alert, and you can see hello from Angular. So this is how now this is called as event binding. So this is we learned about three things. So this is your interpolation, and this is everything related to binding. So you can say I can use interpolation for binding, I can use property binding for binding, and for dispatching an events, I can go ahead and use event binding. So this is how you do or work with bindings inside Angular. So most of the time you will be doing this whenever you have some data to bind. Okay, so let's see a few more questions. Angular 10 supports lazy loading. Yes, Sarvesh. Angular 4 onwards, we support lazy loading. I'm not able to run app through terminal, but from command prompt, I'm using ngserve start command. Pranil, I think if you're not able to use it from terminal, your default terminal might be something else. If you're using PowerShell, it gives you some issue. But if you use command prompt, that should work. That's the only thing I think I have noticed. We are a bit confused about versions. Versions are changing rapidly with 1 or 2 years. Can you suggest what is the standard version as of now? So Suresh, remember this. So there is nothing called, there is no changes whenever a new version is released, right? Remember, everything, the web is improving faster than we expect, right? All the frameworks out there, they have to actually go ahead and adopt to that those new features which is available in web. And that's why you see there is a new version which is available in Angular. The cycle is every 6 months. So in every 6 months they will release some features, or they might be deprecating something. As I said, you don't have to worry about any changes. Ng update command takes care of everything for you. So whenever there is a new version, start with that version, see what's new. The previous things which are available from Angular 4 onwards, they are as it is. So the only thing is you will be learning extra features, that's it. Deepak, I think which version is used most frequently? I think I already answered that. Sorry, everyone. I mean, I can see my voice is breaking just because the whenever there is a build which is running, or I'm installing some packages. So really sorry for that. Mickey, how refresh token works in Angular with API? Mickey, can you just drop me a message on Twitter? I will share a blog post with you. How to do state management in Angular? Pranil, you can use NGRX. Sir, your framework changes day by day. What is the stability of Angular? Yep, I'll discuss about it. How to debug the code in Angular? Use NGRX state management. I think in case you have any questions related to .NET plans and everything, you can just drop a mail to support. I think they will be able to answer you properly. Okay. Yes, you can check. Okay. What is microservice? From which .NET framework or onwards microservice we can use? Zahif, you can use microservices. That's not a problem. So web APIs, I think this is something which is related to .NET. Maybe you can ask whenever we have some webinar related to .NET or anything related to backend. If you have a new package, I want to use an Angular application, will it be able to install it in Angular? Okay, sorry, I think I was offline for a few seconds. I'm sure you might have faced that. Okay. Okay, cool. So this is how you start with the bindings in Angular. Then you also get a lot of things which is available with Angular. For example, if I want to create multiple routes, right? So you already, as you when we started a new application, we said ng new and then application name, and it asked whether you want to create a routing module. So this is what routing module is. So here we can go ahead and define all the different URLs inside your application. These are mostly friendly URLs. So let's add few routes, right, to our application. I'll go to new command. I'll just open a new command prompt here, and then I can say npm run ng. So you should generally do ng g generate, and then I'll create a module. So I'll say m is short for module. Either you can also just write entire command. You can say generate module, and then here I'll create something called as routing, and then I'll create a route. I'll create a separate route actually, so we can lazy load it route, and I'll give the name to the route called employee. And similarly, I'll go ahead and change the module name to employee as well. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a lazy loaded routing module using the CLI itself. So I'm saying, okay, ng generate module, the module name is employee, and then I'm saying hyphen routing, which should generate its own routing file similar to what we have right now. And then I'm creating the route name called employee. So whenever I say localhost 4200/employee, this is something which should be available. And then I'll say, okay, hyphen module app. So I'm saying register this particular module inside app module. So let's see what it does. Okay, I'm using something known as NVM. That's why I have to specify this hyphen hyphen again. Otherwise, it's okay. Okay, so now I have created another module. So you can see I have an employee folder where we have the similar files. So if I go to this file, you have employee routing module, employee component.css. The CSS file is actually where you will be writing stylings for your component. So in case you need to maybe define some div, or maybe you want to place multiple components, maybe in order, or whatever styling you want to give is something which you can do in CSS. HTML is of course where you will be writing your entire HTML. TS file is actually where you will be writing our code, as we have already seen. And then this is spec file, which is where you will be writing your test cases. And this is module, right? So module is good to have, or whenever you want to separate all the features, different features, you have a large enterprise application, and now you want to make sure that your code is properly structured, so you can go ahead and use module. I'm sure this is something which you have you might be doing in .NET or Java application. In .NET we use namespaces, right? So you use namespaces for every module, and then you can separate that code. Similarly here, the module does the same. It will hold all the dependencies for a feature. So here I'm calling employee as a different separate feature. So that's a really good thing which is available here. And if I go to the routes now, you will see a default route is configured for us by using this command. So you have path, and this is load children, which is used for lazy loading. I'll talk about it in soon. And once it is done, let's see, there are a few things which you have to do. So the first thing which you have to do is you have to place a router outlet in your app component.html. So this router outlet is something which will be used whenever you click on any URL. And to do that, we need an anchor tag. Okay. So we generally use href in other applications or in other frameworks. Here you use router link to define where to navigate. So I'll say, okay, I want to navigate to employee, right? So we right now we just have a single route which is available called employee, and then I'll say this is employee. And let's save these two files. Okay, so you can see this page, and you right now have employee anchor link which is available. If I click here, let's see, I'll show you how to debug your application as well here. Okay, so I'll just open this in yeah, and let me disable this mobile. So here you can always go ahead and see, okay, in case you have any error, you can go to console. Right now it says, okay, segment employee. I think looks like while placing the anchor tag, I have some spaces. Okay, why I'm doing this when I can just say employee. I have to just replace it with employee. Now let's see. Okay, now this works in development mode, which is visible from here. So you can see it says, okay, call enable prod mode to enable production mode. So it's okay. I mean, now click on employee. So you can see URL is getting changed to /employee. And this employee works is coming from the employee component.html. I can just go ahead and change to anything I like. To debug your application, you can always go to sources. And this is something which you can do in your development mode. You can go to Webpack, you can go to dot, you can go to src. This is where you can see all these TypeScript file which is available. So I can say go to app, employee component.ts. So you can go to employee component.ts, and you can add a breakpoint wherever you want. For example, if I want to debug app component.ts, I can click here and click on send alert, and you can see your breakpoint is available here. Now you can actually debug your application and see what's happening. You can step through, step in, step out, same thing as you do in JavaScript. So this is how you debug your application. And talking about this lazy loading, right? So let me just do that. I'll refresh my application right now, Control F5. I have to remove this. So what do you mean by lazy loading? So remember, when you work on an enterprise application, your application size is going to be a huge size, right? Of course, there will be a lot of modules, a lot of components which you will have, and it may increase in size over the years. So what you can do is you can do separate chunks. You can actually, whenever you build your application, it will give you separate chunks for each particular module. That's what we did here. So if you remember, we created a lazy loaded module for employee. It means when I click on employee, you will notice there will be some JavaScript file which will be loaded here. I'm sure you can see it here right now. So I can see this employee.module.js. So this is a separate chunk which will be downloaded on demand. So you don't have to, for example, if I have hundreds of modules and your applications is growing up to 5 MB. So you don't have to actually serve the entire 5 MB at once to your users. What you can do is you can just go ahead and say, okay, every module is a lazy loaded module. And then I can say, okay, this module should be loaded at this particular moment. And this is what is enabled by lazy loading. So we discussed about how to create a separate module for your employee route, and we discussed about the basics of binding. So this is what we did right now. Also, with Angular, the good thing is you get a proper architecture to be followed, right? For example, if I want to create services inside my app, so services are something where you will write more of the business logic. So I can go ahead and do that. I can just say npm run. In your machine, you don't have to do npm run. You can just start from here. So and I can say ng generate. G is short for generate, and then I can say service, and I will say, okay, this is shared service. So it will create a service for us, and you will see there will be two files which will be created, shared service.ts. This is where you can actually put in all your common logic. In case you want to make an API call, you will write that here. Similarly, you will have a spec file where you can write test cases, right? So this is also available. In case you want to work with forms, you have two types of forms which are available inside Angular. So you have something known as template driven forms, which is more of HTMLs, and you have something known as reactive forms, which where you actually get a lot of controls over your forms. So this is possible because of, if I go to my package.json, you will notice there is something known as Angular/forms. Angular/forms. So forms are by default provided by Angular itself. You don't have to do anything extra to do that. So this is also available here. Okay, so I think we can take some questions before we move ahead. Nix 1111 says, what is the difference between module and a component? Okay, so if I talk about a component is something which you can say this is a reusable HTML tag. So if I place this HTML tag somewhere on my screen, for example, this employee, right? So if you will notice every component will have something known as selector. So this selector is an HTML tag. So I can just go ahead and say app employee, open tags and close tag, and that's it. Everything which is available inside the component will be rendered. So let's create a new component, a separate component. So I'll say npm run ng g. To create a separate component without a module, I can say component or C for component. And I'll say, okay, this is named as department. So this will just create a component. It will not create a it will not create a module. And okay, so this is your department component. And now I can actually place it anywhere I like, and it will render whatever content we have inside the HTML. So I can go to app component.html. I'll place it after, let's say, this router outlet, app department, and let's place, let's change something inside app department. Okay, so I'll say this is department component Okay, so you can see right now it is department works, but it with this is department component. So this is also okay. So you have, okay, I think lazy loading questions are already taken care of. Future scope of Angular, I have already shared the path. How to implement dependency injection in Angular 10. That's a bigger scope. I think next 1111. So I think how many ways we can bind data. So next we have two ways. You have property binding, event. Sorry, you have interpolation syntax and property binding. Uh, Angular 8 and Angular 9 based courses. Okay, can we call Angular page into a .NET application? Sharat Singh, can we call this Angular page into .NET application? So remember, so Angular is something which is providing you UI. So you have to integrate your backend in. So your APIs will be in .NET. So you will make a call using some services, which is available in .NET. Which version of Visual Studio or .NET Framework supports Angular? I think all versions. Mhm. I see a lot of hate for Angular Online. Why? Andy Thomas says, I see a lot of hate for Angular Online. I think there are people who hate React or Vue as well. So it's not new. So every framework has some haters. So I think the React, there is a virtual DOM and JSON virtually generated. Pranil, there is nothing called virtual DOM in Angular. How to start with TypeScript? Sachin, start with TypeScript. TypeScript has its own web page where you can get started. TypeScript lang, I think, yeah. Just search for TypeScript. TypeScript, you will get the page. Okay. So let's see. I'll take this as a last part, and then we can move on to the question and Q&A session. So this is shared service. For example, this is service, and I have some method here. For example, get department, which will return some data. I'm just returning an object. So I'll say this is ID, name, and this department will have the count number of employees. And let's say this also has head of the department. So I'll say this is something test one. Okay, so this is the data which we are returning from this particular method, right? So I want to implement I want to call this particular method from any of the component. So generally, this is what we do. So this is where the concept of dependency injection comes into the picture. Dependency injection is nothing new for the Java or .NET developers, right? In .NET or Java, you have multiple frameworks, right? So multiple libraries, and you have to do some configuration. In Angular, you have it as default. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any configuration. I can just go ahead and use service inside component inside. I can even go ahead and use it inside a module. I can even go ahead and use a service inside a service. So to do that, you have to use constructor. So I'll use constructor, and we will use this constructor to inject all the dependencies or the services. So I'll say this is private department service, which is type of department service. Sorry, shared service. So let's import it first. So I'll import from /shared service, and from here I'll take the it is available shared service, and let's change this variable name to shared service as well. We'll call it as shared service. Okay, and I'll just add one more button which will be get data. And when this get data is called, I'll just do a console.log, and I'll say this is this dot your service, which is shared service dot get department, and it should print all the information which is coming from our service. Now I can go to HTML. I'll just and I'll just say this is get data, and this is get data. So I have now we have service which is called, and let me just remove this breakpoint or disable this breakpoint, and to let's press Control F5 so it is refreshed. Now I can go to console and click on get data, and you will see you have your data which is available, which is coming from a service. Right now we are getting this data from a service, and this is how you actually implement the dependency injection inside Angular. Okay. So now you know about how to create a component, how to render a component, how you can create a service, how you can do bindings, how you can actually do lazy loading. So this is it. I mean, so please tell how to implement. Mickey, I think that will be like more out of scope of this particular thing. So we'll end here. So in case you have any more question, we can have Q&A session now, and we can end the session then. I'll start from where I left. I think next triple 11. I think I answered your question. How to do dependency injection. The compilation here failed. The application is still running. How? So okay. So the compilation, if compilation fail, it will just render you the last whatever thing was rendered. But that's how it happens. In case it was already in running state, if you refresh, it will fail. I mean, it will not give you an error. Please tell me how to implement input on output. Mickey, I think whatever you have learned till now, I think now you can go to Angular docs, and you will be able to see tutorial based on how to do component communication. You will be able to get it now if you understood what we have done so far. Pooja saying ES5 versus ES6. So okay, ES5 versus ES6. ES6 brings a lot of concepts of object-oriented programming and the syntaxes from your object-oriented language into the JavaScript. And ES6 versus TypeScript is like you don't have much difference between ES6 and TypeScript. The only thing is now with ES6 versus TypeScript, it's like it's a JavaScript but with type definition. For example, I mean, if I'm creating a variable, it will have a dedicated type, whether it is a number or it is a string. So 1 second, let me connect my charger. Yeah. Angular architecture or lifecycle. Next, that would be really out of the scope. I mean, I have to speak for like next 3 years. 3 years. RxJS knowledge is necessary for Angular. Pooja, this is a really good question because whenever new developers start with Angular, they are really confused. So it's not. It's a no. You don't have to actually have an in-depth knowledge of RxJS before starting with Angular. You can do it parallelly. That's what I believe. You don't have to actually have in-depth knowledge of RxJS. So once you are into I mean any scenario, then you can refer to the docs and see which actually operators you can use. Promises versus observables. Promises are old concepts now, so you don't have to use promises now. Use use observables. Subject versus behavior subject. So there's a small difference. So subject with subject, they don't actually emit a default value, and they don't emit the previous value. For example, if there is a new subscriber who came in later on, they will not get the previous value which is available. So it's like, if I have to give you a difference between subject and behavior subject is like more of a train. So for example, if I have taken a ticket for that particular train, and you also have a ticket for that train, if you catch that train on time, you have that particular value. But if I miss that train, I have missed that train. So I will never get back that value, or I will never get back into the train. That's that subject. In behavior subject, it's like more of, let's say, it's more like of online streaming, right? So even though I have missed the previous part, I can just go ahead and see what was the previous value, right? So In online streaming, I can do that, right? I can just go ahead and start from this. If I, let's say, came 15 minutes later in this online stream, I can still go ahead and start or see the previous 15 minutes video. That's what behavior subject is. And it also emits the default value. How to implement lifecycle hooks inside Angular project. So one second. For lifecycle, sorry. So let me share the code again. So here you can see app component.ts, and it has something known as, let me just open the existing new component. So I can go to department component.ts. So it has implements method, right? So there are multiple lifecycle hooks which are available, which is similar to what you may have done inside, let's say, if anyone who has used ASP.NET, they might be aware of all this methods where we had on init, so what was that, onload or something like that. So lifecycle hooks are like at which moment what you have to do. For example, this onload, or sorry, on init method is available. So whenever you have to make a call after your component is loaded, you will go ahead and use or write your code inside on init method. Similarly, you have more lifecycle methods which are available, and of course, I mean, this is more of, I think we are almost done. I mean, I have like few minutes, so I can only answer questions in case you have any. But you just to give an idea, you also have something known as on destroy. So this is the event where your component will be destroyed, and you can actually write some code to release your memory in case you are calling some method which actually takes picks or saves some data into your memory. For example, observables. Once you learn about it, so you will come to know that on destroy method is how that useful. You have also something known as on changes, which is really important in case of change detection. You have something known as on what is that? Okay, after view init. So you have something known as after view init. Similarly, there are a few more. They are interfaces. You just need to see which lifecycle event is good for you or is required for you. Difference between Angular 9 and 10. Ashok, we already discussed about Angular 10 in the start. So in case you want to see the differences, I already have some blog post which is available on indepth.dev. So I can just go to, hello. What's that? So you can just go to indepth.dev. I have written few blogs, which is comparing the previous version. You can see what's new in Angular 9 and 10, and you will be able to see the differences. Why we use TypeScript in Angular instead of ES6? Pooja, so Angular team was the first team actually to decide to use TypeScript as a language at the time when ES6 was not supported by most of the browser. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to make less errors in your code when you write the code. So the advantage with TypeScript is you get most of the errors at the compile time. Earlier with JavaScript, the problem is you get most of the errors at runtime, which they wanted to avoid. And of course, they are pretty much doing that. Using services, is it possible to call Web API from an ASP project? Chooks Fortune. So I am not sure what, I mean, if you want to call an API, yes, that's possible. So for interacting with your APIs, you have something known as HTTP module. So what you can do is you can go to your services and you can use HTTP, and there is something known as HTTP client. So this is a service which is available from framework itself. So you don't have to do anything extra. For example, if I'm using React, I have to use something known as fetch to actually make API calls. So, but here in Angular, you have something known as HTTP client, and you can use HTTP client to make your API call. It will expose the same methods: get, post, put, delete. All the methods are available. Can you, Ramya? Can you go through? 1 second. Okay, so can you go through the authentication level using Angular? So Ramya, authentication is totally based on your APIs, right? So how you want to authenticate. So you can just ping me on my Twitter handle. I'll share you some blog post which you can go through. NG material knowledge is must for, okay. So Mickey has a question, sir. NG material knowledge is must for working with Angular? The answer is no. You can choose whatever styling you want. For example, if you just want to use Bootstrap, that's absolutely fine. You have something known as NGX Bootstrap or NG Bootstrap to work with Bootstrap. Am I the only one? I think that there was some disconnection which happened. Please share the project. It will help us to practice these things. Ajay, you can also ping me on Twitter. I'll share. I do have a lot of repositories available on GitHub. I can share that with you. Pooja Singh, can you share your contact number? Pooja, I have already shared my details here, so you can always reach out to me on Twitter or maybe LinkedIn. And we can build. Pooja says, can we build project using Angular CS6? Or no, Pooja, Angular only supports TypeScript. Mickey says, which grid can we use for showing our records with paging instead of HTML tables? Can we use, please demo that. Okay, so for tables, you can use something known as, there are multiple options. You can use an AG grid. AG grid is available, right? So everyone has samples. I don't have to actually show that to you. You can just go to the grids, go to demo, and you will get the entire demo here available. You can go to documentation as well and see the Angular documentation. You will see, okay, so getting started with Angular, and of course all the entire code is available. You can just copy paste, just install the package and copy paste it. Similarly, in case you want to use material table, you can just go to material.angular.io, and in case you just don't care about data, you can go to schematics. You can go to table section here, tree schematic, dashboard, table schematic. You can just run this command and it will generate a table for you. But before that, you have to install Angular material. That's it. So let me just share the link with you. Okay. Yeah, Prime NG is also there. Yes. Can we build Angular project using e-commerce website? Can you build Angular project using e-commerce website? Or Ashok, your question is, can we build e-commerce project using Angular? Is that your question? If that's your question, yes, we can. Lazy loading is for performance optimization. Yes, it is. So you are serving less bundles to your end user. And I gave a talk few days ago. So what you can do is you can just go to, you can go to my website. This is my channel. So you'll be able to find so many talks here based on different topics. It also so there are talks on dependency injection. There are talks on this lazy loading, performance optimization, everything, and there are a few advanced talks on schematics and builders. So you can refer to them as well. Okay, so let's take few more questions and then we will end the session. So anyone else who has question? Always welcome. So in case you have any more question, of course, you have my Twitter handle. You have my details. You can always ping me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I would love to answer your questions. Angular is more preferable for admin panel of site SEO supports. Snehal, it's not like that. Angular, you can create anything with the Angular. It's not. Most of the people prefer Angular for enterprise applications, but you can do anything with Angular. Even you can actually do this uh, static sites with Angular now. So with a framework called Scully. So if you use Scully, you can go ahead and do that. Can we help us out in case you're stuck somewhere while working in Angular? Mickey, always, as I said, right, I'm always available on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can always send me a message. Generally, I prefer that in case you are struggling with something, share the code. So you can share a repository with me and then we can see. Pooja says interview perspective. Interview perspective, I think you should be aware of the things which are inside Angular and the latest changes. Chuck's fortune. Thanks a lot. Can we build banking large application using Angular? Ajay, yes, we can do that. Even I saw actually a tweet on Twitter that Deutsche Bank actually trying to move on to Angular. I'm not sure how correct this information is, but they are. So, and a lot of banks do use Angular. Pooja Singh, session management. I think Pooja, you can read about NGRX. The documentation is pretty well and really well explained, and you can find some talks on NGRX as well. I'm giving. I think you can ping me on Twitter. I'll share you more details maybe. And we also have a course on .NET Tricks for NGRX. AuthGuard is really an advanced topic if I talk about in routing. Yes, as I said, right, I mean, this was more of getting started. This was for new developers. In case you already had experience, I'm sure you might be wondering that, okay, this is something which I already know. And of course that in case that was this is not the session for you. So as already mentioned, it is just for the new developers who are trying to get into Angular. Which I'm not sure. I mean, mean stack sessions. I'm sure there are a few courses available on .NET Tricks, but I'm not sure about the session in future. So, okay, Ramya. Recently, we have done some client meeting, and the question is, can we develop large application using Angular? Yes, Ramya, you can. A lot of big enterprises are already using Angular, so that's even not a concern here. Angular, as I said, right, Angular already takes into consideration all the security issues while doing the development. And yes, so the last thing which I want to answer is a lot of developers had concerns about the future of Angular. So let me tell you, Angular is not going anywhere. It is going to stay. I mean, I've also seen a lot of developers confusing with Angular JS and Angular. Angular JS is going to be discontinued around 2021. It was supposed to be in 2020, but I think they have extended the long-term support for 6 months, and that's Angular JS, which was launched in 2009. That is going to be discontinued, not the Angular version, which is there from 2014. So we will always have the latest updates on Angular, but not Angular JS. So don't get confused between Angular JS and Angular. Angular is not going anywhere. It will always keep up coming up with a new feature. Even Google is investing a lot in Angular because internally it is being used by more than 3,000 applications. So you can actually notice that, right? I mean, internally in Google, and there are a lot of applications outside of Google who are also using Angular. Big enterprises, for example, as I said, I have heard about that. Deutsche Bank is also going to migrate to Angular from React. So, of course. What are the new Gopi Krishna? Can you explain what are the new things in Angular 10? That's what we did, Gopi Krishna. I think you can just restart the session once it is start the live stream from the start. You will be able to see because this is where we started. We saw the latest changes in Angular 10. Yes, Pooja. So that's why I answered that. Uh, why, when we use can activate, so can activate is a guard. For example, let's say uh, you are going into a bank, right? So, but before going into a bank, you need to show some identification. That's what can activate does. It checks whether you can actually go ahead and activate some particular route or not. For example, if I try to navigate to this localhost 4200/employee, so that's what can activate guard will do. It will check if you have the authorization to actually access this particular route or not. Can we choose for the future point of? Yes, Jay. Yes. What we can choose for the future point of view? Go ahead and use Angular. No one is actually, as I said, right? Angular is not going anywhere. .NET Core compare with Angular. .NET Core, how you can compare with Angular? Because of course they are. If you are talking about Blazor versus Angular, that's different thing. In case you are talking about Blazor versus Angular, then you can actually see. We did an episode on Tech Talks with Santosh, so you can refer to that video where we actually spoke about Blazor and how it is different from the Angular and everything. Mobile app can develop. Yes, Pooja, as I said, Ionic or Native Script. Which is the largest application developed using Angular? Hari Prasad, I mean, I'm not. I'm sure uh, no one will actually say that this is the largest Angular application which is developed using Angular. But I'm sure there are plenty of applications which are already developed on Angular. As I said, Angular is used internally in Angular in Google as well. I think Gmail is on Angular if I'm not wrong. But yes, if I have to think about, Gmail is on Angular. Okay, I think we are done. In case you have any more questions, you can always ping me on my social media handle. You can always ping me on Twitter or LinkedIn, as I said, and feel free to ask questions. Okay. So and you also have my LinkedIn profile. So let me just share it again. Snehal, Node.js, what do you mean by Node.js? I mean, if you want to use or create APIs in Node.js, that's yes. You can actually go ahead and use maybe Express.js or maybe use something else called Nest.js. Yes, you can go ahead and do that with Angular. So you can create your backend API in Node.js, and then front end will be Angular. Okay, so I'm sure. I mean, this was just an introduction session. In case you need more information, of course, you can drop a mail to the support team. They will share more information about it. There are many videos which are available on .NET Tricks YouTube channel. You can subscribe to .NET Tricks as well, and you can go through. There are a lot of contents available on .NET and other technologies as well. So you can also subscribe to the channel. Okay, so this is it. So bye everyone, and have a great day and great weekend. Bye bye. And thank you for joining. I mean, I'm sure you took some time on Sunday to join this particular session. So thanks a lot for that. Pooja, I think just to update everyone, right? So I think this is getting, this will be available on the .NET Tricks YouTube channel. You can always refer to it.